Look, Donald Trump was a baby at one point in time, you know, and you and I, we both have children. We know it's a delicate process of turning an adult, making an adult out of a child, and a lot of factors come into play. But almost all babies are born, well, they certainly have their own personality. They're in many ways a blank slate. And so they're in a lot of ways a victim of the environment that they're raised in. And that's one of the weird things that I've developed in my own self over the last few years, is just thinking about people as babies. I think of everyone as a baby now. Like, since I've had kids, I mean, obviously I think of them as being adults, but I think of them as an adult that used to be a baby. And I never used to do that. Before I had children, I used to think of people as being in a static state. I meet you and I go, well, this is Dennis McKenna. This is how Dennis McKenna's always been. And now I go, oh, Dennis used to be a little boy. You know, Dennis was a baby. He used to, you know, and then he saw a lot of things. And he learned a lot of things. But you know what I mean?
Like,
and that's
I know.
Trump. He's almost as much of a victim as he is a perpetrator.
In a way, he is. And Trump's a good example of somebody. I mean, in some ways, he's still a child. You know, he never really grew up. I mean, that's part of the problem. And everyone, because he has so much power and money, everyone kowtows to his impulses. But, you know, I mean, in some ways, like Jared and Ivanka are maybe a stabilizing influence on him, although
Maybe.
You know, I'm sure their agenda is totally evil as well. So
well, confused. They definitely don't deserve the amount of power that they're wielding, nor does anybody. What's more fascinating about him than anything is that what he holds up to the golden standard is success, right? I mean, this is the guy that, you know, everything has to have his name on it. It's all Trump this and Trump that. And if you looked at like the great American vision of success, it's to become some sort of super rich ultra billionaire. But even though everybody knows he's a super rich ultra billionaire, he still is deceptive about his own success. He still has to lie about it. He still has to distort it far past, whether it's the numbers that came to the inauguration, whether it's the numbers that he won the Electoral College by. He lies about all these different things, and it's inherent. It's a part of him, this intense lack of satisfaction with any result. Any result, even if it's winning by a mile, he must win by 100 miles.
Right.
You know, and that's childish. That's like an intense, but it's that same intense dissatisfaction that's inherently very dangerous in a leader, because it's leading him to make these critical judgments that aren't based entirely on reality, but rather what he wants people to perceive.
Right. That's quite right. I think that's dangerous. That's what we were saying before. No thoughtfulness. There's no thoughtfulness in the man. There's no reflection.
Right, reflection and lack of humility.
So this is not what you want in your leaders, because, you know, we see what's happening. Like he's going back and forth with the Soviets. He's going back and forth with North Korea, and it's like a schoolyard spat, you know. But these people have nuclear weapons to throw, so we need to back off from that, Donald. You know, it's just. But he can't do that because he has to respond. He has this impulse to respond. I mean, I think that, you know, I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be exposed to ayahuasca, I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, because it would help him. And, you know, what is disturbing to me, many things about Donald and this sort of reality distortion he's created, is people, you know, they take it seriously. I mean, they're sort of like intimidated by it. Not enough people are standing up and saying, well, this is not true. This is not true. You're completely deluded about this. You're, you know, I mean, there's some sort of impulse to show some respect when no respect is due. You know, I mean,
respect for the office, or respect for the
position. Office, for whatever. But then when he comes out with these things that are obviously not true, I'm sorry, there are no alternative facts.
Right.
Alternative facts are lies.
Yeah,
there's only
such
facts.
A bizarre candy coating of bullshit. Alternative facts is the most hilarious candy coating of bullshit ever. My hope is that we get through this without nuclear war, and then we realize that we can't have a fucking president. And the idea of having one alpha chimp run the entire group of 300+ million people is insane. And it doesn't work when you have technology, when you have this ability to communicate instantaneously globally with everybody. constantly. It's an archaic idea that served its time but needs to be revamped.
How would you do that?
That's a really good question.
You know?
I'm not the guy to be the architect of the future civilization, but I would think that putting as much power as we put into one individual is insanely problematic. It's just you're dealing with all these ego issues, decision-making issues,
Right.
and also the camps, the two separate camps, the right-left camp. That's crazy too.
That's crazy too. Right, right. No, I mean, I think one way to approach it wouldn't have to be such a tremendous shift from what we've got. It would be to go to a parliamentary system like Canada has, for
Right.
example, where